Holy,
Holy,
holy is the ground.
oh, holy is the ground.
Several things that came up from Ferry and Timoria, who I said earlier is my sage and a mentor. What she advocates is, and she says that everything that everyone is saying is spot on um, about the importance of awakening now. What she would add to that is to each of us individually awaken in such a way that we're balanced, because there's many different ways to awaken. And the new relationship that humanity is being offered has to come from that space of balance. And that can mean many different things to many different people. So it's important for us as individuals who are sort of like stepping out from the consensus is to find within us that balance. And what does that mean as far as for each of us? And so what she advocates is to look at balance, not just from the physical perspective, but also the spiritual perspective, the mental perspective, and the emotional perspective, as well as the physical. And those are 4 layers of understanding that can happen. And so it's very, very important to define that for oneself, because as we do that and we develop that and nurture that, that then becomes a field of resonance that we project out as individuals into the society that others begin to pick up in their own way. Salath, her daughter, she is I guess in her world, you call her a master gardener, but it's something way beyond that. She is a master healer of the forest, a master healer, and works in concert with the earth, but also works in concert with the plant kingdoms, the animal kingdoms, the mineral kingdoms, all of those kingdoms she works with. And she has a direct connection in with that consciousness of earth and what it wants and what she desires. So one of the things that she's saying that came through was, in order to have that more deeper relationship that we're seeking, go to the microbial level, to that base level of microbes, because there are billions and billions and billions of species of microbes that we don't even know exist. And all of them form an interlocking web throughout the earth. All of them link every forest on the planet together as one consciousness, but also as a separate and diverse set of consciousness. And when we can start to see that interconnectedness, but yet that oneness at the same time, there's a level of knowledge that's going to start to come, that it's sort of like we as a human and even as a spiritual human being can't even imagine that yet. But if we allow it to be imagined for ourselves within us, it can come. And so this is one of the gifts that she wants to bring, is the ability for each of us to begin, that when we go, say, into our yards and into the forest and wherever we are, it doesn't have to be, it could be in the middle of a city, but to begin to acknowledge that there are levels of life that have levels of intelligence that we cannot even yet fathom, because we have preconceived notions about how it is. And you see, the thing about the fairy realm is that their levels of imagination are far more diverse than our own. And it's not because they're better than, it's just because they see reality from a different perspective than we do. And once we can kind of hop on board with that, we'll be open to that same level of knowledge, that same level of intimacy and in relationship with all living things. So like in fairy, everything's alive. Doesn't matter whether it was built or whether it came from nature, it's all alive. And when you can, so one of the reasons why she's advocating going, starting at that microbial level is we all have our microbes in us, just like the trees, just like the earth, just like every animal on this planet has its own diverse level of microbes within its own living organism. So when we can start to communicate with that level of self, it opens us to the greater self, which actually is the microbial level. So that's where she's advocating for us to start. And, however we choose to start, read a book, see what the newest science is saying about these kinds of things, but then allow your own spiritual background to overweave and overlap that information and see then how you can then take that information and bring it into being, is what she's saying.
Let's take a moment to just breathe and feel and let ourselves digest what we've heard, and then we'll move to the next person.
I had a very strong, like I said, almost desperate call-like experience from the living soil, from tree elders, from Mother Earth, which indeed was the sort of call to align. And align is indeed, I would say, is the one word for what you have described so beautifully well, achieving balance in all levels, and what came up is that as humanity, we at the moment we do not really trust the elders. We do not really trust Mother Nature. There is something of us that tries to outsmart them, that tries to control, that tries to be more clever than creation. And what came to me is that the elders and the soil cry out to please stop this. Please be humble, listen, and obey. And so not try to be clever and wizards, but be obedient prophets. Just tell what you hear, tell what you have been told. Listen to the heart of Mother Nature, listen to the nature elders. And indeed, that's very much finding a new balance, finding new ways of being grounded on all levels. And indeed, what you actually also wrote, learn to respectfully imitate. Stop trying to control. The strange thing is in our wish to repair, we sometimes we damage more than we repair, and that comes because we are not sufficiently aligned. We're not listening. We become doers instead of careful listeners. And indeed, what you're saying about the fairy world is it resonates strongly with me, because indeed I also really had this strong plea, this strong um, I would almost say it is this strong cry to please listen and trust nature and the elders. And indeed, everybody needs to do that in his own way, but and the more of us that can do this, the better it is. But I also, for me, today, the urgency also came across very strongly. That we seem to be relaxed as a humanity where we can no longer be relaxed. This is really we have to make the shift sort of really now. There is no, so nature also gives that signal that there is no postponement possible if we realize what she says.
Oh, thank you. Again, taking some breaths, integrating breaths, acknowledging breaths.
To answer your question, I simply asked Mother Sai, what would you have me to do? And she knows I have a whole bag of ground cover that I've held on for 3 weeks and I hadn't put down. And she says, plant it now. And as Franz was talking, and also as Mother Sai reminded me, when I do my walks, my meditative walks, I typically go straight to the park, cross the bridge of the big reservoir, and I'm doing it at a fast pace because the first part of the walk is to engage my lungs and my heart. And then by the time I get around to the second bridge, I remember Thich Nhat Hanh saying, walk as if you're kissing the earth. So by the time I get within 500 feet of Mother Sai, I slow down and start walking very gently, very softly, as if I'm kissing the earth. And then
And when I asked, is this grief in the soil? And I got yes. And I also had flashes, of course, of all the humans and animals who aren't receiving, what they need. Their core needs are not being met on Mother Earth. So I believe there was some layer of that. But I was continually being shown that the grief that humans feel, the tears, the water in our being actually will nourish the soil. So we need to release that. And so when I asked how, again, I just was given an image of humans lying, chest down on Mother Earth, and the grief that we feel, whatever it is about, allowing that to move through and letting our tears nourish the soil. The other piece for me, it was interesting because I normally don't get messages like stop cutting and stop doing things. But I was, and I am prefacing what I'm saying to say that much of what I'm saying is what I would call an interpretation. So I have an experience, then I put language to it. In some cases, I heard these words directly, from the elders. And the piece, the mycelium said, learn to imitate me. So everything we need to know about how to organize with each other is in that layer. They're masters of it. So learn from us. And it's on my personal list. I have a book that's partially started. So I'm gonna go back to that and renew that. Grandmother Sitka spruce, it was like leave the leaves. So I was seeing, the organic matter that drops onto the earth. We clean everything up. We want to control what the landscape looks like. Stop that. Let it be. Let the dead feed the living was basically the message. And then with Brother Wind, it was like he was just showing me how he works in balance with when there's trees and forests, that the wind is intended to work in relational balance. And so again, let the trees grow, let the forest grow, I saw images of people letting their lawns go and let the land be wild, let it populate itself so that the roots and the soil stays present, the wind is in balance and not, blowing things bare. So that word balance was very, very big for me as well. What we're going to do is what I call release our attention in the field with the nature elders. So while I do this out loud with us, I invite you all to, withdraw your attention from the screen and go back into your own heart and continue your own gratitude. And thank you to these nature elders for coming. Ooh. Great gratitude to each and every being, every wise one, every nature elder who has been here with us today. And great gratitude to each of my human brothers and sisters who heard the call on this first consultation about how can we support the core needs of all humans and animals being met on Mother Earth. Give great thanks to the mycelium community, to the living soil, to Timoria and Sala, the beloved nature spirits who work so hard and so continuously to help the soil to stay healthy and to grow food for us and animals to eat. Give thanks to all of the tree elders, Mother Sai, those living in the Netherlands who are called in, Grandmother Sitka, the Rhine River, so beloveds, we share with you this blessing. May your next and every encounter with human beings be filled with deep listening, with balance, with conscious awareness, and with imagination. So until we meet again,